Welcome to this week's Cool Chief episode. Today I have a treat for us all. Kay Newton is with us for this week's episode, and she is an expat, a Brit, living in Mallorca, Spain. I know I'm jealous. I'm sure a lot of us are jealous. And Kay is a midlife strategist, and we are going to be talking about the life table, which I'm hoping Kay will shed some light on because I think I'm in the dark as well as you. But before we have Kay introduce herself, in case you haven't seen one of these episodes before, my name is Jack Perez, and I am the CEO and founder of Kuel. Kuel is an online platform and a curated shopping experience for women in midlife. So as broads over 45 or over 50, depending on the way you define midlife, right? And Kuel is spelled all cattywampus with a K, so it's Kuellife. And of course, it is a play on the whole word cool and how we all want to continue to live our cool lives for as long as we are on the planet. Kay, would you do me the honor of introducing yourself and to my audience a little bit about how you became a midlife strategist and a little bit about what we're going to talk about today?
I would love to. Thanks for having me, Jack, because it's really nice to be here. We've talked a little bit, but it's really nice to be actually here on your program.
Thank you. I'm so glad you're here.
I'm so happy to be here. I'm originally from the UK, as you can tell by my accent, probably from the north of England. And I actually, in my 20s, jumped on a boat in Hull Marina, which is in the north of England, and sailed all the way to Mallorca in Spain, which is in the Mediterranean. And I tell everybody I never swam back. And that was 35 years ago. I met my husband here, had two boys here, both flown the nest now. And I've been working in the arena of midlife now for probably I've been on the island 35 years. I've been working as a midlife strategist for about 15 years. So I met lots of people, and hence came up with the idea of the life table. And it all started with asking a question to a client. And the question goes something like this. I'm going to ask you it, Jack, and see what you say. So if you lost everything tomorrow, if you lost your home and all, the bank took all your money, who would you reach out to? Who would you connect with? Do you have a list of people?
I do have a list of people.
Fantastic.
The first person on my list is my sister. I have a very unique relationship in that I not only love my sister, but I consider her my best friend, which,
brilliant.
Not everyone gets that. Not everyone is lucky enough to like and respect their family member. So yeah, my sister would be the first person.
And do you think you would be able to extend that list to about 30 names?
30? That's a big list. I mean, I feel very fortunate because I definitely have probably maybe 7 to 10 names I could put on that list, but not 30. I not that would actually keep my call, I don't think.
But that's the fascinating thing, isn't it? And that I must remember to actually take a video snap of all the people when I ask them this question, because their faces say it all, really. It's a beautiful illustration of what, and oh my God, 30. And the reason why I say 30 is because the first top 10 you can probably just about eke together. Not all of those are going to be available when you want them if you're in a crisis. And so having an extra extended list of people that you could definitely approach, even if it's just for, I desperately need a cup of coffee, or can you introduce me to somebody because I need to start my business again, or I need a roof over my head, whatever it may be, just to have that list curated and keep it going, and it's this thing about opening up and connecting. It's something that the wealthy people know all about, and the rest of us are not very good at it. We feel very sometimes isolated.
When you say wealthy, do you mean like financially wealthy, or wealthy in relationship, or both? Or
yeah, both, but definitely wealth has got a different meaning, hasn't it? So wealth is definitely the things you've got in your life if you were to lose your home and your finances. That's what I class as the wealthy part. And that's why I talk about the life table, because one of the table legs, if you imagine an old-fashioned table with 4 legs, and one of the legs is obviously your connections. Who can you reach out to who would help you if you're in really dire need and if you're in distress?
Well, I definitely have expanded my network of women over the last, say, 18 months. And I feel very fortunate. You're in my life and you weren't in my life a year ago. And
exactly.
And I know that I could call you if I needed to get some advice or just have, an ear and a different perspective, which is great. And I feel very fortunate because there's so many women in the Kuel Life community that I have connected to over the year and a half that I've been doing this. And I find myself in a position where it's wonderful. Like when my partner and friend passed away this past summer, I had so much moral support from the women in the Kuel Life community. Random texts and emails and just thinking about you. And so, I feel pretty wealthy, or definitely wealthier now than I did before I started Kuel Life. So you said you had 5 tenants or 5
essences, I suppose you can call them, 5 sections of the table. So that one leg is your connections. Obviously, we've been talking about that for a little bit.
Okay.
And it doesn't take you long in today's world with modern social media to be able to get out there and make new connections around the world. It just takes a little bit of patience and a little bit of a little bit of guts, really, to get out there and start the conversation. But you can meet some amazing people. So that's one. The other one, which is really important, is health. And health is big. You and I have just been talking about the pains that our bodies are going through at the minute. And so we all know at this stage in life, health is not something that we can take for granted. And there's a lot we can do to make sure our health is optimum. And they're simple steps. They don't have to be difficult steps. And one of them is to drink water on a regular basis, something that we often forget to do. And it may be that you need to carry a bottle around with you, or something simple, just to make the habit of making sure you're drinking enough water each day. Breathe.
Well, for me, it's been I haven't been moving as much as I know I need to be moving. So that has been a renewed commitment as of last week. I basically told myself, enough. We're not doing it anymore. We're going to move every day. And I don't care if you don't get that extra email out, if you don't make that extra phone call, it doesn't matter. Because if I'm not healthy, then it doesn't matter what I do with all the other stuff.
Exactly. So being aware of what's good for you, whether it's good sleep, good food, good exercise, as you've just said, drinking water, and breathing. It's a big one, huh? Breathing deep.
Breathe right now. I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I'm holding my breath.
We do. Women particularly, we're very good at breathing shallowly. It's something that we don't do on a consciously breathing. And for anybody who's listening, I don't know if you know this, but if you want to lose weight, you actually lose your fat through your breath. So breathing becomes really important. So breathe as much as you possibly can. Take some deep breaths during the day, oxygenate your body, and you'll see a big difference. So health's really important.
Okay.
Another table leg is knowledge. We've got huge skill sets at our age in life, and they're not just the certificates that we've got from doing official courses. We've got all those mum skills, all those different hats, whether it was taxi driver or nurse or whatever it is. We've got all these skills that we take them for granted unless we actually sit down and do an audit. And if we audit that skill set every year, we know what we want to do next year. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. I had another woman on a while ago, and we were talking about women trying to get back into the workforce. But if they had been a stay-at-home mom and they start feeling that maybe they don't have the skill set, and she was talking about how as a stay-at-home mom or a soccer mom, you are juggling multiple schedules and chauffeuring and chef and being a chef and being a nurse. And she's like, if you focus on what you're good at versus the fact that you were not necessarily in a standard job. Those are translatable skills right back into the workforce. So yeah, knowledge. We do have a lot of knowledge, and sometimes we forget that, right?
We do. We take it for granted. I was just talking to a lady earlier, and she helps people actually sort out their skill sets, because oftentimes at this time in our life we don't want to retire, we've got lots of sass, we still want to do stuff, but we okay, what's the possibility of me starting a florist, for example, because I've always enjoyed doing flower decorations, blah blah blah. Great, but then you also need to think about, what don't you know about opening a business? Where can you get help with opening a business? Because the last thing you want to do is take all your pension plan, stick it into a business, and in 2 or 3 years' time have nothing left.
Right.
So doing that skill set audit becomes really, really important. And to do it on a regular basis, we don't need to know everything. But if we don't know something, if we don't want to learn it, and sometimes we do, we want to go off and do that PhD or whatever it may be. But if we don't want to learn it, who can we approach to go and get it for, get that information from?
Right.
So that's important.
Really, and actually sometimes knowing what you don't know and what you don't want to know.
Yeah.
But knowing where to get that resource is as critical, if not more critical, than having it yourself, right?
Exactly. So that's a huge wealth. If you've done that and you've already sussed that out, you've already got that, so you're much further along the line than most people will be.
That makes sense.
So if you lose everything tomorrow, what skill set have I got? What can I do? What do I need to learn, or who can I approach? So that's really, really big.
Great.
Another table leg is a biggie, and that's finances. It's money mindset. It's having financial flow. And if you haven't got financial flow, so stopping and thinking and getting very curious about what on earth's stopping financial flow. Because at the end of the day, if you go down to quantum level, we are all just energy and space. And, money is just an extension of that energy, really. So if it's not coming into you, what are you doing? What are you creating that's stopping it coming in?
So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
When you've helped women with that question, and I'm assuming that question's a big one for women, because at least the women I run across, that seems to be a recurring theme, that we have a hard time asking for money. We have a hard time accepting money. Not all of us, but I've come across a fair number. What have you noticed? Any particular reasons why? Like, are there any recurring themes in women in your years of experience that you've seen around this topic?
Yeah, I think it comes down to confidence, and that can come from all areas. So it could be at school and not being good at maths, for example, and thinking that, okay, so my mathematical skills not very good, therefore I can't run finances. Having a husband who does all the finances for you, I don't need to deal with that until obviously your husband's not there, and then it becomes a problem. So there's all sorts of different ways of dealing with money, and looking at it as well. It could be possibly the way your parents have been with their money, and you're either emulating them and copying what they did, or you've rebelled against what they did and you're doing the complete opposite. So if your parents were savers, perhaps you've gone out and spent and you don't know how to save, right? Or vice versa. So the word curious is really, really important here. It's getting curious about your past history, where you are now, and what you're doing. Repeating and doing the same things we know means that we'll always get the same. So doing something different, what are you going to do different? Get curious about what you're doing so you can see, and then what you're going to do different. And a really good way of dealing with that is actually knowing what your financial situation is. So many women, I don't know about you, Jax, but so many people I speak to don't know what their monthly incomings and their monthly outgoings are. And so you've got an issue straight away. You've got nothing to start with, no platform, no base.
Well, and the thing is, when you say getting curious, it's not just about getting curious. It's also about being honest with yourself.
Yeah.
Because if you don't admit that that's a stumbling block, if you don't sort of just accept that this is an area for you that you're struggling with, that then that it won't allow you to get curious. So you have to kind of you kind of have to accept and be honest and a little bit naked with yourself about what it is that you're struggling with, right?
Yeah, and to make the realization it's you who's struggling with it. It's not an excuse. You can't pass it on to someone else and blame anybody else with it. It's, even if you're in a really long-term partnership, you can't blame your partner for whatever's happening. You've got to really sit down and look at it from your point of view, and then make a decision how you're going to change.
I have found that in my life, I really never have anyone else to blame for my predicament.
Mm-hmm.
It's always
you.
It's always me. I am the common denominator in every single predicament that I find myself in, whether it's a positive one or a negative one. It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
I take credit for all of it.
Yeah, that's fabulous, and that's a really, really good place to start. At least you're on the right way. So that's good.
Well, my philosophy is if I'm a victim, then I can't fix it.
So you can't.
Right? If I'm the victim, then that means somebody else is making it happen, and therefore I have no way of course correcting, and that would make me crazy. That would just not work for me,
And that's really interesting what you just said, because that becomes part of the tabletop if you think about it. So now you've got your 4 legs in place. We've looked at health, we looked at knowledge, we looked at money mindset, and we've looked at, what have I missed out?
Relationships.
Yeah, connections, your relationships. So then you've got your firm, solid foundations. Now you need to put your top on, and the top is really you. It's looking and knowing thyself, knowing you in great detail, and looking at it and going, okay, so these are my habits, these are my thoughts, these are my beliefs, these are my values, what's working, what's not, what do I want to change? So it's like doing a recalibration, really. It's saying, I'm happy with this, but this is not good. Hand up, like you said, being honest, hand up, what do I want to change? Which bit of this is going to make this a really solid table, which means no matter what life throws at me, I'm ready for it. Okay, we've got the ups and downs, we're all alive, we have our heartbeat, so we're going to have ups and downs, that's fine, but that you can cope with it. You've already got the foundation in place.
Well, I love the analogy, because I went even further in my mind's eye when you talk about, well, okay, so you have the 4 legs, and then if you're honest about who you are and your faults and your good points and what you're willing to change and what you're willing to live with, then you can add decorations like flowers on top of the table, because the table's not going to fall down,
Or you can pile your money up there, or you can put the big meal out for your friends. Whatever it is that really gets you going, goes on the top of the table. So yeah, that's the main thing.
That's a beautiful analogy.
What I find with lots and lots of clients is that quite often when they're in midlife and they're sort of semi on a midlife crisis, that they'll go and they'll try and fix one part of the table. And that's fine, because that becomes strong, but then the rest of them become wobbly. So it's about slowly doing step-by-step small little actions that put your table strong in all directions. If you just do one little action 5 times, for the 5 different areas, you'll end up with a really nice strong table. So that's the main important thing to do. And then your midlife mojo sorted. You're back on track.
Yeah, that sounds great. So I think we're nearing the end of our time together. Kay, if someone wanted to reach out to you and get more information about you, where can they find you?
So you can find me on Facebook. I have a group called Midlife Strategist, and we're looking for some new members at the minute. If you want to come and join us, next month we've got a 5-day challenge coming up, just literally on the table. So you're welcome to come and join us before that starts.
Okay.
I have a website, knewton.com, if they want to come there. Very simple, basic website. And if anybody's interested, I've also got a quiz. So you can do a quiz, which is all about the table as well.
It's about the table, is that what you said?
Yeah.
And the quiz, can they find the quiz on your website?
They can find it if they just get in touch with me, and I'll send it to them. It's on Facebook. It's a Facebook quiz.
Okay, great. Well, Kay, thank you so much. And I love the table analogy, the 4 legs. I mean, and then of course, if you've got connection, if you've got health, if you've got, you're going to be able to really be a stronger person for it, and accept the challenges that come into your life. So I appreciate you taking the time and spending it with me for you this afternoon, for me this morning. And I look forward to our next time together.
And let's make it soon. That's the most important thing, isn't it?
Yes,
We'll talk soon.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye, Kay.
Bye, everybody. Thank you for having me.